Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Igniting Your Brand Power. We're excited to have this dynamic webinar presented by Emerging Leaders alumna, Kimberly S. Reed. Kimberly S. Reed, CDP, corporatepreneur, managing partner and CEO of Reed Development Group, LLC, has earned a reputation as one of the most dynamic speakers and trainers. Reed ignites audiences internationally on topics ranging from entrepreneurial leadership, professional and personal development, diversity and inclusion, personal resiliency, and presentation skills. For nearly 15 years, Reed has helped executives and professionals develop a YES, You Empower Self mentality. After over a decade as a diversity inclusion specialist for some of the largest companies in the world, including PwC, Campbell Soup Company, Merrill Lynch, and Deloitte, Reed has cultivated the ability to create innovative solutions for identifying, attracting, retaining, and developing top diverse talent. Reed's skills have enabled her to position organizations and business units to increase recruitment, retention, deployment, and the management of talent for women and people of color in record growth. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kimberly.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I know that everyone is on mute and you won't be able to talk back to me, which I'm kind of used to. I'm a church girl at heart, but also, more importantly, I love doing these I love facilitating and actually facilitating these interactive sessions with you and professionals like you across the U.S. So once again, good afternoon, and we are going to talk about, for the next few moments, we're going to talk about igniting your brand power. So welcome once again, Emerging Leaders alumni, and we're going to get started. Next slide, please. So today, some of the things that we're going to talk about are the following. Understanding the power of your personal brand. Tips to develop your brand strategy and how to manage your brand. And as we said in the beginning of this webinar, if you have any questions about a concept or about a thought, or you have something burning that you would like to answer or that you would like to ask, please send us a chat, and I'm also paying attention to that as well, and I'll stop and answer your questions. If they're not burning questions, we'll wait to the end, and I will be more than happy to answer all of your questions and stay on for a little extra if need be. So let's get started. Again, I'm sorry, and I didn't have any coffee today. I was dealing with me without any coffee. So after we understand what we're going to talk about today, it is really ultimately the power of your personal brand. Next slide, please. All right. So this is just, and we're going to move quickly from this slide. But I love video. I like imaging. So all of us, and what this slide really says is that all of us as professionals have a brand. Next slide. So today's speaking, so we're talking about the power of your personal brand, but we're also going to talk about the power of effectiveness, efficiency, execution, and maximizing your value. I know many of you in the movement are CEOs, and some of you are in the movement and your day jobs are in professional firms and corporations across the country. So one of the things, or two of the things I like to talk about and really kind of intertwine is the value you bring to your role, to the movement, if you're a CEO of an affiliate, or a chapter president. As I know also well, I used to be the immediate past president for the Philadelphia chapter of Next Philadelphia. And so I want to make sure that we are speaking to each of our hats, if you will. So when we talk about the power of effectiveness, efficiency, execution, and maximizing your value, and ultimately that brings power to your personal brand. So these concepts and what we discussed today can be used throughout our professional life cycles, if you will. Next slide, please. So I love quotes. I love quotes. But this really speaks to us as leaders in the movement and leaders in your professional lives. Leaders take your thinking to the next level while keeping in mind how it will make a stronger impact in the organization. Now, I know most of you agree with this. I'm sure most of you agree with this statement. But I want you to think about this for a moment. You as a leader, whether you are a CEO affiliate, whether you are a leader in the movement, whether you are a leader on your job, or a professional in your organization and an aspiring leader, if you will. Think about how you're thinking, your goals, your plans to go to the next level. But remember, it isn't always about us. It is about us. Probably it is a percentage of this is about us. But more importantly, it's what we do to impact the organization and to impact our roles is really what true leadership is. So our thinking takes us to that next level. Next slide, please. So this whole concept of creating your power. If you are like most leaders and professionals today, we realize there are a couple of things that we need to understand and realize. One is competition for investors, customers, and talent is at an all-time high, and new competitors are born every day. All of you on this phone are speak to that point. So when we think about our investors, if you're in the movement, if you're a CEO of an affiliate or an aspiring CEO of an affiliate or a chapter president or a leader in your chapter, you have investors, which are your sponsors, right? Your customers are your members. And talent, us. So we have to understand that there is a competition out there. But the good news is that we are equipped to be able to compete. And I'm going to give you some tools today to help you get there and exceed where you are. The global marketplace is crowded, but also being heard and achieving meaningful visibility is achievable, but it's more difficult than ever. So what does that mean? All of us, want to be able to move and shake and move it, right? And all of us, want to be successful in our lane. So it is, again, being in the movement or in your own personal development, in professional development. Understanding that it is very important that you build quality relationships and have a very strong network to create exposure, visibility, and opportunity. Because it is very difficult now because there's so many talented professionals in the pond. So how do you differentiate yourself? Next slide, please. So there are some questions that you are looking to answer in business, but they're not only about your company, but about your career. And here are some rhetorical questions that I want you to think about. And also, if you have a paper and pen, jot some things down as you're actively listening to me as well. But just make sure, this is very important, as you're thinking through this to jot your answers, because we will apply them later on in the presentation. So how do I advance my career? Right? There's a question that we ask ourselves. And what does that look like? Is it meeting with our managers? Is it taking on those challenging projects? Is it building more quality and effective relationships? What does that look like? How do I increase my internal value? So if you are one of the best communications and marketing professionals in your department or company, how do you take that expertise to the next level? Because apparently people come to you for this craft, for this talent. So how do we continuously develop that? Also, how do I help in or grow my company's bottom line? Why this is in red is because something that professionals usually forget. Because we are so busy developing ourselves, which is a great thing, because we want to become exceptional. But one of the things that we don't do well is connecting what we've learned and our value to the overall organization. Now you may say, Kim, I can't do that. I'm not a leader in the organization. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a leader in the organization or be the leader in the movement to be able to navigate, to understand what winning looks like for your organization and how you can contribute to that. The navigation system to that is, of course, your boss, your manager. If you are in an affiliate and you're looking to grow that affiliate, your CEO, your COO. If you're in a chapter and you're looking to enhance the value of your chapter, then you look to the members, right, to the core of the organization in our membership. So there's many ways to look at this question. But for today's workshop, I want to focus on how you add value to your company and it's applicable to your affiliates. And then lastly, how do I enhance my personal bottom line, salary revenue? I know maybe I'm assuming that all of you are like me. And I work simply because I need to work. I need to work from a financial perspective. I love what I do. And would I do it for free? Absolutely. But right now, I need to solicit those invoices from my clients. So these are some ways that I want you to think about how you can start to create your power, which ultimately transcends into your brand. So I hope you are writing down some good notes and some good things about yourself, because we're going to apply those, as I mentioned a little earlier, later on in this workshop. Next slide, please. I hope everyone is walking with me. If you have any questions, please feel free to send them to chat. And then finally, on this platform of power, sometimes big professionals and CEOs ask me, Kim, you're asking me to do a lot. I do a lot of executive coaching. I do a lot of leadership training, and I work with some national organizations and sororities and fraternities on how they increase their value from a chapter perspective or from a national organization perspective. But from a personal perspective, sometimes it becomes overwhelming because we say to ourselves, how do we answer all these questions and still have time for our personal goals and commitments? And also what I should have put in there, because all of us are part of the movement, is also the movement. Because as you know, and as all of you I'm sure have experienced, this is a second great job as well. And it's definitely a commitment. But there are no easy answers to this. And simply put, it's going to take not only a vision, right? So you need a vision, your strategy. Because all of this is also a part of your brand. Because when people speak about you or to you or understand who you are as an individual, your vision and who you are and who you aspire to be, and your journey to being exceptional, from great to exceptional, definitely it must include an effective strategy and a vision. But also it has to be multifaceted. Some of us tend to think in a box. I always challenge professionals, this is the cliche, but think without a box. It has to be in a kaleidoscope effect. And it takes continuous implementation. So sometimes we do something, we implement it, and we walk away from it. But if we take ourselves from great to exceptional, there is that continuous cycle of implementation. That's very important. So it takes vision, being diverse in thought, multifaceted, if you will, and continuous implementation to continue to build your power in your brain. Next slide. So here's another rhetorical question, and if we were in person, I would ask for feedback here. But I want you to think about something else. What is it that you're doing to help your company and yourself get ahead? And a lot of times, we clearly understand or know, some of us, what it takes to get ahead. We know that. But what does it take for your company or your affiliate to get ahead? And what we're doing and what we do, we want to make sure that when we're building a brand and we're igniting this power from great to exceptional, you absolutely have to have you and the organization, company, affiliate, chapter, whatever your X is, has to be a part of that equation. Because if you are an effective value creator, the answer you give today will be different from the one that you give 18 months from now, even if your role in the organization stays the same. So what does this mean? If you are a value creator in the sense of developing your talent to be viewed as valuable, you're going to be in constant development. You're going to be in constant evolution. You're going to be continuously building your brand to ignite that power that we talk about. But one of the things about very creative people or people with innovation, and that's a word that you hear a lot, and I'm sure you all on this phone have heard a lot in your organizations today about that word innovation, creativity. And when you have these two ingredients, you're again going back to that evolution. You're not going to be the same professional or person aspiring to be great the same way from month to month. You just won't. So it's going to be very different from month to month in a year and a half from now. But even if you are still a CEO 18 months from now, for example, in an affiliate, your role stays the same, but the organization should be changing because of your influence, because of your talent, because of your deposits. And for those that are professionals, even if you don't have a promotion, your role stays the same, but what are you doing for the organization to develop the output of promotion, right? So it's building your bench, if you will, in your job, but making sure that it's connecting to business objectives. Because then your brand starts to become results-oriented, a strategic thinker, an innovative thinker, a business thinker, keeping the organization first, a thought leader. And these are the types of words and actions that you want to be able to describe who you are as a professional. Next slide, please. So, when we talk about this notion of creativity, right, creative professional, what do they do? So before I ask that question, and before we talk about this slide a little bit, I just want to rewind a little bit to make sure that I have everyone. You know, we're talking about building your brand, but I'm not the kind of brand facilitator, if you will, to say, you know what, you need to go out and you need to expose yourself to 5 organizations. It doesn't work that way. Igniting your brand power for sustainability is treating the whole professional. So not only your brand, but your professional sphere, as well as your organization in which you live and play. So, and that also that notion of innovation and creativity. So it goes back to this question of what do creative professionals do? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to tell you. To succeed, creative professionals do a couple of things. They take calculated risks, right? Healthy risks. They find new ideas and consistently innovate. There's that word again. Innovate. How they lead people, how they lead initiatives, how they lead imperatives, how they lead teams. Set and execute qualitative goals and communicate them. Have you ever had a boss or a CEO or chapter president or leader in the movement, perhaps or in your own company, that they set goals, they have a vision, but no one knows about it. And we're expected to execute on it. And we're expected to communicate on it and tell others about it, tell our sponsors about how great we're doing. Well, when you don't understand, if you don't innovate and have the vision and set more qualitative goals for execution, there's a communication factor that needs to happen. So those of you that have a vision, have goals, have a great ability to lead and improve as such, are you communicating this to your stakeholders, i.e. your members, i.e. your members of an affiliate, perhaps your team in your jobs, perhaps to your managers? That's one of the things that we forget, is that communication factor. So here's something that I'm going to ask you rhetorically to help you with this concept. I want you to think about what is your approach to challenge every element of your business model to the most concurrently untapped opportunity. You say, Kim, what does that mean? Well, what is your approach to success? What is your approach to process to get there? What is your approach to execution, innovation, creativity? There are so many untapped opportunities in our affiliates, in our affiliates when it comes to sponsorship, right? And I'm not speaking for every affiliate, nor am I speaking for Philadelphia. But what I am saying, and what I do know, is that when we look at our sponsorships from a multifaceted perspective, and I'm choosing this as an example, are we looking at the organization's needs, or are we looking at our needs? So, or are we looking at our own needs, ourselves? So these are the untapped opportunities I'm referring to. For example, you have a company, Chrysler is your sponsor, and you're developing a brand for your affiliate that you are truly a community partner or a partner in this war on employment. Are you getting jobs from Chrysler because the affiliate needs them? Or are you aligning the goals of the affiliate with Chrysler's business opportunities and plans? So sometimes, there's many ways to look at this. But let's also look at it from your perspective, from a professional's perspective. What are the untapped opportunities right now in your professional sphere? Are you not tapping out on your promotion ability? Are you not leveraging your team to the maximum because maybe you have some perhaps some intimidation? And that's not necessarily a negative, because that gives you an opportunity to seek for development. So again, going back to what this is, it is how are you looking at your sphere of influence, your professional sphere, and tapping those untapped opportunities. Because ultimately, these untapped opportunities also fuel your brand, and you're going to see that in a moment. So let me go to the next slide and talk a little bit more about this. There's a question that I'm going to ask you. And again, I hope you have a piece of paper and a pen in front of you. Because this is important for your self-development. What is, and I want you to write down a word. And I'm going to even pause for a moment while you do this. What is your brand and wow factor? So, what that means is when someone says, okay, Jack, I'll say Kimberly, for example. What is the brand around Kimberly? Well, from what I know, and I hope that after today you all believe as well, that I can be engaging when it comes to workshops and facilitating and in my speaking. I also am a strategic thinker. And I also feel that I'm innovative. And these are things that also people have told me. So what would I say my ultimate wow factor is maybe my love of people. So when you think about this question for yourself, think about what this looks like as far as what is your brand and what do people say about you. That's very important. And also, what is your brand challenge? So maybe you are not approachable. Maybe you're a procrastinator. Maybe you are late to meetings all the time. Maybe you have some development in your leadership, right? So all of these ingredients go into our brand. And so those are what I would call a brand challenge. So for a moment, just to give you a minute, why don't you write down what is your brand and wow factor? Give me 2 words. And then also, what is your challenge? Give me 2 words. So you can take the time and do that for a minute. And I want you to hold on to them, because as we're going to move into the next slide, and I wish this was a little bit more interactive, because I would love to hear from you about what they are. And maybe at the end of this session, when you have an opportunity, I know some of you may have to hop off, but if you have an opportunity, I'd love to hear what they are. And perhaps a remedy for your developmental areas of how you plan to increase. Next slide, please. So here's another quote, and something I kind of thought of in this kind of journey of entrepreneurship after corporate America, and also being a president of the Young Professionals in Philadelphia and being a part of this fantastic and phenomenal movement and all the awesome professionals and people that I've had the opportunity to work with, like you, on this call today. One thing that we always have to remember is that clients have never had so much information or so many options, ever. Because we live in an age of social media. We live in an age of access. We can pretty much get whatever we want. And our clients as well. So when I talk about the word client, I think about, let's go to ourselves personally. Who are your clients? So who are your stakeholders? Could be your boss, your team. If you're an entrepreneur or your own business, it's your client, right? If you're a CEO affiliate or a part of the movement or as a president, your members are your clients. So let me use our chapters for an example. There are numerous chapters. I lost count across the U.S. And people that live in that particular geographic have choices. They could be a member of Young Professionals. They could be a member of NABA, National Association of Black Accountants. They could be a member of SHIP, which is the Society of Hispanic Engineers, NSBE, and the list goes on. And, you know, there are millions of professionals that are part of these organizations. But why would they be a part of your chapter? What's your chapter's brand? Does your chapter have a strong brand that you all are advocates for professional development of your members? From an affiliate perspective, is your affiliate a pillar of advocacy in the community? As it relates to yourself, are you an exceptional professional that creates creativity, that pulls people up, that is a great mentor, that is an exceptional performer, that also replicas their boss in many ways? So think about what your brand looks like. Think about the brand in those scenarios. But just also remember that our clients, our stakeholders, our teams, our managers, they have more information and more options than ever, which ultimately means, and this is not a negative, but we are replaceable, nor did we invent X or whatever we want to fill in what X is. So that's why building your brand and understanding your brand power is so critical, because that is what your value is. That is what people are going to work with you. They're going to engage you. They're going to promote you. They're going to solicit your leadership based upon the healthiness of the power of your brand. So I hope you all are walking with me, making sense. If you have any burning thoughts, burning questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. If not, we're going to keep going, and I will wait to the end, and we'll have some interactive, and I'll answer any questions that you have. Next slide, please. All right. So defining your brand is, and also I just read something, and thank you for this, that you all can speak during the presentation. You're just only on mute, and that's a great thing. So this will be extremely helpful for towards the end, because I want to hear your brand's, your wow factors and your challenges. So that's good stuff. Great. So defining your brand. So here's how we start to get into the tools now, right? We've laid the foundation. We're building this 20,000 square foot home, and so, which is enterprise cost in our brand. And so we laid the foundation, but now what does this really look like? What tools do we need to build this house? Well, to define your brand is critically important to our success. It really is. Just like your network. I would say the two top ingredients that catapult you to success and sustainable success is your brand and your network. Also, you need to first define who you are. So what does that look like? Who you are. And then communicate your brand with a clear strategy. So it's very important that you understand who you are. And that speaks to a question that we just received. And the question came from Toya. I'm paraphrasing your question, Toya, if you don't mind. So she wants to understand about how to rebrand yourself. So you have a brand, right? You want to rebrand it. Because as we mature and our outlook on life changes, you're right, Toya. You're absolutely right. Toya says we may find ourselves wanting something different out of life. Absolutely. And how do we begin to rebrand ourselves to align with those changing aspirations? That's a fantastic question. So Toya, I want you to really pay attention to the next couple of slides, because I'm going to speak to that. Because, of course, when we got out of college, for example, I know when I got out of college, I wanted to be Oprah. Don't want to be Oprah. I think that's a great aspiration. But, reality set in, and I became a corporate leader, and moved up the corporate ladder and did that. And then 6 years ago, I became an entrepreneur, a trainer, a lecturer, all those good things. So, things change. And so, but one of the things that people do, and Toya, this speaks to your question, is that they keep evolution of their brand. You've got to, and let me explain this a little bit differently. There's a cliche called jack of all trades, master of none, right? So we don't want to be a jack of all trades, because you have to have a foundation of something you're good at. So any professional, regardless of who you are, there is a foundation of your brand that you will always need to have and carry. So if you are an innovative technologist in your role, like you get technology, you do well on social media, you are the queen or king or team leader of social media committees and all your organizations. I mean, you are just the person to come to for technology. But because you became a commentator, for example, on a weekly radio program talking about how to communicate and enhancing your professional skills, being known for being a great technologist and a communicator doesn't change. Some of our strong brand elements need to go with us as through our evolution of jobs, evolution of life changes, and evolution of thought. We then add to our toolbox. Some we let go, but we have to have a foundation. And those strong brand factors are part of our foundation. We just continue to build with tools. So, Toya, I hope that starts to answer your question a little bit. But what I do want you to walk away from this, and all of you on this call today, is that don't change everything. Because some of us are great brand elements, but we just need to build and enhance. So it goes back to defining your brand. What's very important is that you have to define who you are. Who are you as a professional? So, and then here's some ways that I'm going to help you to think about how to communicate your brand and how you develop that strategy. Next slide, please. So, developing your brand. So here's where we start to talk about this. You first start to ask yourself the following question. And think about these rhetorically, you all. That, what do you want to be known for? What is it? Do you want to be known for that you are a results-oriented professional, that you are, blazing trail affiliate CEO, or you are providing opportunities and mentorship for people that are coming up along the way to reach where you are? Do you want your chapter to be the baddest chapter on the East or the West Coast? Why? So, but going back to the personal, us, for a moment, it's who do you want to be known for? And how do you want to be perceived? See, perception, again, do you want to be perceived that you read every book under the sun, which sees your intellect and why you're so intelligent? Do you want to be known for a go-to person of how to, fundraise or how to develop a strategy for your team to more effectively complete its initiatives and imperatives that are given to your by your manager? But here are some core answers that will help you determine your market or workplace position and your image. Here's some things that you do want floating around. One, a well-networked professional, a loyal team player, an idea generator, being results-oriented. People want to make sure that you do have results. Because there are a lot of us, and I know a lot of us know these folks. They're talkers. They will tell you 55 things that they're doing. That's fantastic. You see them a year later at the next conference, they're still working on those same things. And at some point you say, you know what? Where are the results? Our affiliates, we're measured on a point system. So we have to have results. So you want to make sure that your brand absolutely incorporates some of these points that we just talked about, if not all of them, but definitely results-oriented. Next slide, please. So, here's the thing I love, and again, if we were together, we would have an opportunity to I would be able to see and coach you on how your delivery in articulation of your commercial is. So what is a strong brand commercial? I have this little graphic that's seen on TV, so you can understand what I mean by this concept. You all know Verizon, right? You all know Verizon, and they're known for their reliable network. I've had Verizon over 15 years, and I agree with them 180%. I don't have job calls. I just came from out of the country. I still had clear reception. It was all good. So you think about McDonald's. You think about, these commercials, especially during the playoffs. They're designed to create memorable moments. So when you walk away from the television and you hear of the brand or the product, you associate that with something. Same goes with people. So when you're thinking about how you're communicating, whether you're at a networking event, whether you are in your performance review, whether you are meeting with your board of directors or your chapters or for your affiliates, what is your brand? Because you're ultimately the leader of you. So it remains result-focused, right? It explains and implies how others benefit. It can be backed up with facts, and it communicates with confidence. So what do I mean by that? My name is Kimberly Reed, and I am the CEO and managing partner of Redevelopment Group. Redevelopment Group focuses in two areas, business performance and people performance. On the business performance side, we have the opportunity to work with global organizations and Fortune 500 companies, professional services firms, and universities on developing their diversity and inclusion strategy. We focus on the deployment, the development, and the retention phases of that strategy. In addition to that, we work with companies to help them with leadership development. So we train their diverse leaders. On the people development side, we work with athletes, CEOs, and professionals to help take their speaking skills from good to great. And ultimately, what I love doing is facilitating sessions just like these. So that was the raw version, and that was not even 30 seconds. But I wanted to give you an illustration and an idea of what a commercial may sound like, all right? So you think about yourself. You think about what you do every day. You think about what your value is. You think about some of the attributes that you have. And you think about also how others can benefit. You know, you may be the best treasurer on this side of heaven, but you don't communicate that. You don't communicate that with confidence. So maybe your story sounds, or your commercial may sound like, my name is John Doe, and I am the treasurer of the Philadelphia chapter of Next to Philadelphia. Or I am a finance analyst at a Fortune 500 company. Well, you've said what you do. Now let's define. Maybe in your role in your company, you saved your department and the firm 40%. So, 40% savings in the first quarter. I mean, that's huge. And think about this. When you're meeting people for the first time, people want to hear about a result. People want to hear about something awesome that you've done. So, because it then gives them room to talk about themselves. Remember, another session, another day about networking, but people love to talk about themselves. But in this case, you're able to communicate how the value you bring, also how others can benefit, maybe by leveraging your expertise or just being in your network. So remember, your commercial also, and more importantly, needs to be confident. You have to speak with authority and confidence, because if you don't, people won't then want to invest in you, both from a professional perspective and in the movement, whatever your role may be. Next slide, please. So before I talk about this slide, I do want to say one more thing about the whole commercial perspective. Is that, you want to be armed with your 30-second commercial. You definitely want to be armed. You want to be armed with who you are, what you do, how you do it. Because that's a very important entryway to a lot of key relationships. And knowing that and being confident about that in and outside of the movement is critical. So once you have your commercial, your 30-second commercial done and you're ready to go, there's some other things about marketing. How do you market yourself? Once you have all this, Kim, how do I market myself? Well, self-promotion is not a negative guy. And it's funny because and this is factual, not segregating here, but African Americans, minorities, have a very difficult time with this. Networking and self-promotion. Research has shown, and this is a fact, it's not something that Kimberly is saying. And one of the things that, we feel oppressed. We feel that if we talk about ourselves with humility, that we're going to come across arrogant or aggressive. If things are done with the DNA of humility in mind, that will not come across that way. And actually, we need to be doing more of a better job of that. Educating up, for example. Making your job to keep your supervisor, your manager up to date on your activities, your affiliate CEO, your board. Your board, your sponsors, that you're working with. If you hired 4 interns for your company, a lot of these companies are huge. They don't track, they're not able to track as detailed as we are. Communicate that. You're showing value of the relationship. So when it's time for renewal of your sponsorship, it's easy. So when it's time for you to be promoted, You have this catalog of wins that you have developed and that you have given to people, i.e. your boss, to read. So when performance time comes, you have your catalog of things, you have your booklet, and it's easy to, it makes it very much, it makes it smooth. I've sat on many performance reviews with my clients and their employees. And when employees come prepared, I tell you, the performance review goes so smoothly because they understand their brand, they understand what it takes to market their brand, and they understand this element of self-promotion. So, when you're continuously educating us, weekly meetings or emails. I mean, I'm not saying being a stalker by any means. But what I am saying is keeping people in the know. And more importantly, how are you helping the team? How are you helping the company? How are you helping your manager? It goes back to what I said early on in this workshop. You have, everything we do has to match back to the goal of the organization, of the organizations, or it has to map back to the business objectives and imperatives. So also expanding your network. Reach out to those outside of your department. We all of us have done this before, I'm sure. We go to lunch with who we know because our brand is safe there. We work with people we like. That's great. That's important. But go out of your comfort zone. Attend events if you don't already do so. Schedule meetings with professionals in the classes of interest. These are also things and tools that are going to help you build your brand. And actually, people will start to tell you what your brand is. And that's the great news here. So remember, self-promotion is a very important element. You want to make sure you educate us. You also want to make sure, and it is paramount, that you expand your network so your brand can be extended and you have exposure around your brand. Next slide. Thank you. So marketing your brand, and here's some additional thoughts around it. Tap into other people's expertise. It doesn't make us look weak or incompetent. I remember I'll talk about the movement for a moment. I remember on our president's call, we shared best practices of what worked well. I'm sure that the affiliate CEOs or other leaders in the movement have very similar powwows or roundtables. They're very important. Talk to other people's expertise. Ask questions that demonstrate your intellect, your understanding. If you read a great book, you're at a staff meeting, and you read a fantastic book on the art of building effective, high-performing teams, and this is where your team maybe has some developmental areas, and you read this book and you want to share with them some of the exercises that you would think help strengthen their team. Well, wow, how do you think your brand will look then? You're demonstrating value, which is very important. See, remember, increasing your visibility is only possible through expanding your professional network. The only way people are going to know who you are, what you do, is expanding your professional network beyond the four walls of your team. And it goes for its chapters as well. It's in affiliates. You've got to expand the network for you to acquire the funding, the advocacy, and the support that you need from the community, your investors, as well as your members. Next slide, please. So here's something. This goes back to something that you mentioned earlier about this evolution. How do you reinvent yourself after you've already been invented? One of the things you want to be careful of is, you've got to determine who you are first as a professional. Like, what are your strengths? What do you do well? What are some of your skill sets? What are your experiences? And you've got to be consistent in that. It goes back to the jack of all trades, master of none piece that I talked about earlier, as far as, you're known for 55 great things. That's great. But if someone said, what do you do? They could answer. Remember Tommy from Martin? They said he didn't have a job, but yet he did. They found he did 800 other things, right? So you just got to think about who you are as a professional. And the reason why I have Lady O here is because she is a great example of keeping her brand consistent. Yes, She has a television channel now. Yes, it wasn't successful when it first launched. Now it's getting better. But we would never deem Oprah a failure because her television channel isn't as exceptional as her television show. You're talking about 25 years versus, 3 years or 2 years now. But one of the things that's consistent about Oprah is that she does everything in excellence. So even though the television channel did not do well its first couple of years, but she still tries to put out quality programming, excellence in what she does, in her magazines, and how she interacts and engages with her community and her audiences. So you want to make sure that your audience knows exactly what you bring to the table and what they're going to get by working with you. Each and every time. That's where consistency comes in, and it's critical to your brand power. So just to sum up this slide is, this is our core strengths. What are they? Sometimes we don't even know what our core strengths are. What are your skills? What are you great at? And some of you bring some fantastic experience to the roles that you're in, to the new roles that you're in. Leverage it. This is how you start to generate value, which ultimately translates into, I would say, if I was in person, to what? Your brand. Okay? Next slide. Thank you. So this other piece of, being consistent, the power of your brand, your network, all of these key ingredients in our professional toolbox for success. What does know your value mean? Well, you have to understand your value. Because, what is your worth based upon your accomplishments, your experiences, your expertise, your talent? And you know where we fall short with this, guys, is in negotiations for salary, promotion for a job, or you're negotiating with a sponsor about dollars for your affiliate. If you are, in front of your chapter members, what's the value of the chapter? What have you accomplished, right? How are you articulating this? And then taking this back to self, we don't know our value, so we don't have the ability to negotiate. So I want us to change that paradigm and think about what is your worth based upon your accomplishments, your experience, and your expertise. And understand that and know it and be able to communicate it. So knowing your value, being consistent, knowing your value, educating us, self-promotion, your commercial, the power of your brand. I'm going somewhere with baking this cake, and I think I used a different analogy earlier about building this 20,000 square foot home. I love analogies as well. So indulge me. Next slide, please. All right. Now, here's something else. You want to stand out from the crowd. You want to be unique. It's very important that you create your personal brand identity. And here's how you do that. And this is why it's very important that you all have paper and pen to kind of jot some notes down so you can go back and look at this and say, okay, here's the blueprint for what my brand should look like. Now I need to speak to it, to write it, to communicate it, and to put it into execution or strategy. So here's some additional things I want you to think about. What do you stand for? What do you stand for? Dr. Maya Angelou passed away yesterday. We all know this. And I don't know if you're watching very carefully on the news, publications, Mark's statement that went out yesterday. People are speaking to her, and they're speaking to her strength, ability, quiet storm, trailblazer, brilliant, exceptional. I mean, you hear all of these wonderful and powerful adjectives about who this woman was. So, and what she stood for was equality, civil rights. So what do you stand for as a professional? Do you stand for advocacy of people and mentorship? Do you stand for doing a great job in ensuring that your manager is engaged and that both of you are winning? What are your values? What are your values? What do you value? Do you value work ethic? How do you want to be perceived? There's that question again. I think that perception is very important. How do you want people to see you? How do you want people to view you? Because sometimes it's funny. It's funny. There could be an opportunity that, for people to talk about or speak about you when you're not in the room. And you want that perception to be that she's a good individual, etc. And so it's very important that your perception is pretty much in alignment of what you want it to look like and be, quite frankly. So, you could be a leader or an expert in your field and find unique positioning. Do something that everyone else isn't doing and that you do well, right? Or, we tend to drop ourselves into the bucket of what everyone else is doing. And we may be great at some other opportunities, other things. So I want you to really think about this standing out, this uniqueness that you have. And here are some questions that will help you generate those thoughts around that. So make sure you also, be a leader, be bold, be an expert in your field. And that will also help you with your brand. It will also help you with exposure and building your network and finding that unique space that you are only good at or that you can do better than most. Next slide. Please. So here's something that we will, after we hang up, if you can go back, please. One. To the SWOT analysis. Next up. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back one slide, please. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. Creativity. We talked about innovation before. But where this quote comes from, this thought comes from, is that we did a survey with managers, with about 1,100 managers across the country, across the globe, actually. And they were CEOs, managers, CEOs, leaders. And we took the data specifically from the CEOs. And the common theme of importance was that creativity was one of the most important leadership qualities for CEOs. Now, you can nod yes and no, or no, but can you see that being true? And here's how we can apply that. In the movement, we can apply it that your creative, your affiliate is going to catapult into greatness, right? Your sponsors are happy, your board is happy, your members are happy because you're being creative with initiatives, imperatives, your community service, your advocacy, how you build relationships. Creativity generates profitability and also generates uniqueness and also leadership. In our professional and our personal perspectives, right? Creativity. If you are creative when you're deliverables that you deliver to your managers or you're delivering to your team, people become more engaged. They become more excited about what it is that you're doing. Because, we all can do, we all can toe the line. All of us can do that. We all can read, so that's easy. But all of us do not have that creative spark. We have it, but we're not igniting it. So just remember that innovation, creativity, these also are very important ingredients to this igniting our power in our brand and creating that powerful brand looks like. Next slide, please, which is the SWOT analysis. So this one is something that, this is a SWOT analysis that I kind of thought about as a result of many of my coaching sessions with people. And the SWOT analysis is really a tool to audit yourself and in your environment to help focus on key issues that you have. So I'm not going to go through this entire slide because I want to make sure that we're pacing ourselves for questions at the end. But, just look at some of these things, your strengths. What do you do well? It goes back to all of that we've been saying about our self-analysis, right? What unique resources can we draw on? Our weaknesses, some of the threats that we have, and also the opportunities. Here's how I look at this. You want to celebrate and focus on your strengths to continue to work towards them being your strengths. You also want to take opportunity to advance, develop. You also want to look at all of the opportunities around you. What are you leveraging? What are you taking advantage of at this moment? And how are you turning these strengths and talents into opportunities for yourself? And then you think about your weaknesses. And I don't like to use the word weaknesses or developmental areas because weaknesses cripple us. developmental areas that are hope for us to change, right? And then threats. What are our threats? What is our competition doing? We talked about this early on. Competition in clients and for everything. Social media, who has the most likes on Facebook, who has the most followers on Twitter. In your job, who does Excel spreadsheets the best? Who leads people the best? Who is the most likable people? The list goes on and on. So you just want to think about what are the threats here as well. So I would use this tool and, think about this later. What does this look like for you? You can do this with your team. You can do this individually. But, it will really help you kind of bring out some of the qualities and also the residue that needs attention and that needs development and also your strengths that need enhancement. So I strongly recommend that you revisit this slide. And finally, so, we live in a world of social media. We know that. And personal branding in the social media world is tricky nowadays because things that we do on the internet stay for a gajillion years. And, it's about perception. It's about what you want people to see, what you want people to know about you. Some of us put way too much of our lives on Facebook, for example. So, and not enough on LinkedIn. Professionals. I don't understand that, but most of us do that. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Next slide, please. So LinkedIn, all of us on this call should have a LinkedIn page. I do. You can connect with me at Kimberly as in Sam Reed. And all of you, I'm sure, have a LinkedIn page. That's great. What does your photo look like? Post a branding statement. Remember, they prompt you to do this. So what words are you using? Are you using exactly who you are? Are you a diversity and inclusion strategist? Are you, an award-winning freelance writer? What are you? Right? That is your branding statement. What are you, a dynamic leader that focuses on, results? Who are you? Add skills, join groups, respond to comments, and like content. These are ways to build your brand on this particular platform. Next slide, please. So, Facebook, right? So, keeping your personal and professional content separate. What does your timeline cover look like? Current employer, what are you working on? Status updates. I also have two Facebook pages. One is a fan page at Kimberly Reed, entrepreneur. Please like it. And the other is a page that started off as a business page, Kimberly Reed, that started off as a business page, but kind of morphed into a little bit more personal because I have two work pages, and the other is the redevelopment group. So you want to keep all of that separate. Remember, your employer can look at your Facebook page anytime if you aren't privacy settings set. People that want to do business with you, want to network with you. Maybe your manager wants to promote you, but you know what? They just saw on Saturday night that, you were turned up, with, two cocktails in your hand. Now, does that equate to responsibility or someone that can handle being in a leadership role? I understand, I know that's your life, that's separate from what you do on a daily basis. But, when you start to move up that corporate ladder, when you start to reinvent yourself, it's very important that people perceive you and you can handle your success. Or that you can handle them sponsoring or being an advocate for you or exposing you to untapped opportunities. So just be mindful of that. Next slide, please. Your social media brand as a whole. So, because there's many. There's Twitter, there's LinkedIn, there's Tumblr, and there's a whole host of them. But here's what it is. Everything and everyone is now online, and you could be searched and linked. So, there's a picture that you've been tagged in on Facebook of something that someone else is doing that you don't condone, then, that's a part of your record, unless you untag yourself, right? So, think about this, the transparency and the authenticity of what you do. And, connect with your peers all the time. It's important that you connect with your peers. But you also, want to make sure that your brand is a representation of who you want and who you want people to perceive you to be, essentially. Next slide, please. All right. So this is important because you've got to understand your USP. And your USP is your unique selling proposition. This is one of the last ingredients that is extremely important that you understand about yourself. And that's your unique selling proposition, which also goes into helping build your brand. Next slide, please. So there are 3 top ingredients to building your USP. One is achievement drive, affiliation, and power. You say, Kim, what are those? I'm glad you asked, so the next slide is going to tell us. Next slide, please. So there's 3 categories, 3 top USPs. So there's that person that's an achiever, right? They get things done. There's an affiliate. So that person builds and cultivates relationships. They're at every event, or internal, they're at the staff meetings early because they want to make sure that they're cultivating and maintaining the right relationship with people that they work with. And also making an impact, power. So those people that really make an impact. So I want you to think about for a moment, who are you? You could be a mixture of all 3. You could be 1. You could be 2. But, you also, it's very important that you think about who you are with this. Because also, this also feeds into perception as well. So let's go to the next slide, and I'll tell you a little bit more about who these people are and how this applies to you. So here are achievers. What achievement people are about. And if you are an achievement person, that's great. You've raised your hand. You are constant improvement. That's what you aspire. Winning and being the best. Productivity and efficiency. Doing more than what's expected. But here's your downside. And here's my downside, because I'm one of these people. We are workaholics. We drive employees too hard. You're a chapter president, you're driving your members really hard, and you're board, your executive board, your CEO, your staff, your team. What does that look like? You leave turmoil in the wake because you're so focused and driven. And I know that you say, Kim, is that a bad thing? Well, as it relates to us being achievers, there are some downsides to that. It's great that you want to win. It's great that you want to take yourself to the next level and be exceptional. You absolutely should do that. But just understand that there is some residue from that, and these are some of those. If you are an affiliator, next slide, please. If you are an affiliator, here are some of the things about you. You develop in your nurturing relationship. So you're very, and this is not a negative when we say kumbaya. You want people to get along. You want to develop relationships. You want people to know you. You want to maintain harmony. You want to minimize conflict. Let's just come in, let's just get the job done. We're not going to be power tripping on anything. Let's just do what we need to do. Let's get it done. But let's build relationships. I want you to like me. Relating for the sake of relating. But here's the downside to being an affiliator is you let poor performers linger. I'm this person as well. And I've kept an intern that I had a couple of years ago. I kept him much longer than needed than he should have been with me because he was a great guy, great person, just couldn't do the job well. So, also, you let relationships interfere with results. Because we're relationship experts, as it relates to networking and building these key relationships, sometimes they interfere with results. We may be working with a friend, or we're working with someone we really respect and like, or someone that we've mentored along the way. And, maybe, they're not performing and they're not producing results. And then that's a problem because you can't let those relationships linger. And then we're also worried about how others view them. We have a need for approval. I tell you, I've really overcome this a lot over the last 10 years because, I had to think about this. And you think about this. Do you want to be respected or liked? I know for me as a leader, I want to be liked. I want to be respected. Because you'll eventually like my decisions. You'll eventually respect my decisions, respect how I lead, respect how I interact with you, how I engage you, how we bring the team along, etc. So, so you have to think about where you want to be here, as far as that likability factor in your leadership. See, the last person is the power person. Next slide, please. Is the power person. And the power person, we influence others, right? We motivate, galvanize them sometimes. We like being in charge, right? Even when we don't have to be. That was me when I was president in Philadelphia in the beginning, because I got president fever in the beginning, so that quickly subsided. Also, being in the know. We always want to be in the know. I know in my role in corporate, I had teams, so I always wanted to be in the know. And I like being a leader, right? But some of you may feel the same way. And some of the downside to this is, though, we may not roll up our sleeves, or that's the perception, that we don't want to roll up our sleeves. We may overpower and overshadow others, right? Because, we come in the room and we want to be perceived as this, power professional and with intellect and all of those good things. But, we have to be mindful of balance. People like to shine. We do, and so do others. So you have to create that balance, and you have to empower others to share their ideas. And you want your brand to be that you do empower others, that you really, want to implement the ideas of others. That's very important of building your brand, how you're being perceived, and also your team of leaders as well. Next slide, please. So here are three key brand ingredients. I know that I said that I've probably given you about 10 ingredients, but here's the big ones, and these are my top 5, right? So I say 3, but these are my top 5. And 3 are appearance, communication, and gravitas. So I know maybe some of you on the phone or who will listen to this later are scandal fans. Woo, right? And so we've heard the word gravitas during the season, the scandal. And I'll talk about what they mean in a moment. But look at this pie chart. Gravitas of 67%. Appearance is 5%. And B, communication is only 28%. So let's talk about what gravitas are, since it's such a high percentage. Next slide, please. So, here are some core traits of gravitas here. And I just want you to take a look, and I want to be mindful of time, and I want you to kind of take a look at this. There's men and there's women. And, here are some of the gravitas. Decisiveness and showing teeth, right? Your vision, we talked about that earlier. Reputation and standing your brand, right? So these are very important traits of our gravitas, in who we are, and what makes up our brand, and what makes up our executive presence, and what makes up us as professionals. Next slide, please. Here's some of our communication skills as well. Great speaking skills. Look at the difference for men and women. The ability to command a room, assertiveness, sense of humor, posture, body language. All of this comes into the power of your brand, because it's essentially who we are and how we show up, for a lack of a better word. Next slide, please. This is just something very simple quote that I use to let me know also too that we're bringing the plane in momentarily. But people who are most successful see themselves as a brand. Think about the most successful people that you know. They're a brand, right? And think about, I know celebrities, but look at Oprah. Look at Mark Zuckerberg. Look at the CEO of Facebook. Look at, the CEOs of many organizations and companies. Look at Mark Marial, for example. He's a brand in itself. He's a brand of advocacy, outstructing, right? When we think about OWL, we also think about civil rights, we think about advocacy, we think about marching, we think about fighting for ourselves, right? So think about that. The most successful people. So as we continue to think about what success looks like and winning looks like for us, think about what our brand is and what we want our brand to be. Next slide, please. So here's our brand checklist, right? So here's a couple of things that you need in your brand checklist. And it's funny, people ask me why I have those images there. I do because, the colors and, it just reminds me that there's personality in products, right? So, and there's personality in products and belief in us as well. So, there's a couple of things. Our mission. What's your vision? What's your mission? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? Do people know that, understand that? Your elevator pitch, i.e. your commercial. You've got to have that package. Also, your profile on social media. If I went to the internet right now, what does it say about you? What am I going to find? Am I going to find pictures from Jones Beach or Martha's Vineyard, turned up? What am I going to find about you? Your brand personality. What is your brand personality? In the sense of, we both, I know, for me, I have Kim and I have Kimberly. Kimberly S. Reed is the professional in me. Kimberly S. Reed is the presenter, the speaker, all that stuff. Kim is, the daughter, the friend, the girlfriend, all of those things. So you kind of got to understand, what your brand personality is at work, right? Are you approachable? Do people want to come and talk with you? Are you a problem solver? So do people enjoy you solving problems for them? Or are you always doom and gloom? I mean, you have to kind of think about where you need to be and where you want to be. And this is a part of that checklist and checking yourself for what your brand should look like. Next slide, please. So your branding toolbox. Here's your toolbox. So we're developing a toolbox. Right? Don't try this at home. I'm kidding. But without doing a couple of these. So again, very much just like the previous slide, I just want to reiterate this. Solicit positive feedback from your close network. People that care about you, people that love you, people that have an interest in your growth. You have your 30-second commercial that's developed, that's strong, that's communicated with confidence, that you're using. Your unique selling proposition. Understand what that looks like. What is your unique selling proposition? Also building your executive presence. How do you show up? How do you dress? What is your image like? How do you speak? When you walk in a room, do you command it? Going back to some of the earlier slides about gravitas, about our communication styles, our decisiveness, etc. And how are you going to leverage your new brand, right? How are you going to leverage it professionally? Don't put in all this work and don't use it. It's important that you start to use it or reinvent it, right? From an earlier question that we had. It is doable. Next slide, please. So brand value means this: increasing your perceived worth in the eyes of others through your ideas, skill sets, and performance and productivity. Goes back to something I said earlier: solving problems for others, with to offer intangible benefits, create synergy with people, impact someone emotionally. People do business with people they like. People talk and network in people they like. That's just who we are. Making work or life easier for those around you. People want to know, how can you help me? How can you make things easier? Also, making yourself unique and differentiating yourself from others is important. Next slide, please. So, this is a lot of information, and this is normally a 3-hour course. I've taken out several slides, but, here's one thing that I will say to you. It's all this is doable. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of practice, but you don't want to be your own obstacle. Everything we do is a reflection of our self-image. We have to use affirmations that we can do this, right? Maintain a positive attitude about yourself. We had that SWOT analysis earlier. Use that, leverage that to help you jot your thoughts, to help you develop your brand. Use SMART goals to deepen your brand, right? So, these are SMART goals. Set goals for yourself. And you're going to have your vision communicated effectively. Whatever those goals are, use them. That's a part of your brand, and that actually will deepen it. Next slide, please. So here are some thoughts of mine as we bring this plane in, and I want to leave it open for questions as well. You know, build and market your personal brand. In the workplace, remember, people are the most successful, right? Who see themselves as a brand. Foster communication. It's about relationships, network, you know, among people who report to you, work with you, around you. You know, it's better to exercise. You can exercise your brand this way. The more people that know you, the more exposure you have, the more that people know you and what you stand for and what you represent. But remember, it's all in fun, and it comes with lots of practice. Lots of it. Next slide, please. Some personal accountability. Here's just some things for you all to do is to kind of check in with yourself. You've got to hold yourself accountable. What are we doing? Also get some updates from, senior level staff in your department, or in your chapter or in your affiliate. You want to make sure that you're on the course and that you're taking the right course of action and that you're developing your brand in the right and effective and positive way that also shows value and illustrates value to the business or organization. Next slide, please. So winning, right? Pound winning. I love Twitter, right? Pound winning. So take action of your most important goals every day. Pay the price of doing whatever it takes to get this stuff right. And, ask for whatever you need with no fear of rejection. You don't look weak, incompetent, that's crazy. You do that. You ask for, and respond to feedback. Commit to never-ending improvement. Commit to it, regardless of how hard it is. Remember, consistency is one of our ingredients of our brand. Be consistent in that and commit to never-ending improvement. Persist in the face of whatever obstacles that you encounter. Okay? So, these are elements of what it takes for us to win. Next slide. So, lastly, last quote of the day. Wow is good, but wow is really getting people excited. What are you going to do with your brand? What are you going to do with your wow factor? Are you getting people excited about who you are? Are you getting people excited about you, about your affiliate, about what you do on a daily basis? Do they want to work with you? Do they not? All of these things are very important. So remember, wow is good. So can we go to questions and go to the last slide, please? Because I think it's important when people have questions subsequent to this session that they can get a hold of me, to me. The next slide, please. They can get a hold of me, to me, whatever they need. So any questions that you have, well, let's unmute ourselves. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them at this time. And while you're thinking, if you don't have any questions, that's fine too. But here's my contact information, and please like us for updates on Facebook at Redevelopment Group LLC. Also, Kimberly S. Reed. There's two of us. Please check the fan page. We just started. And join me on LinkedIn, and you'll hear some other great anecdotes. I hope this was very helpful for you today. I hope this gets you started with building that 20,000 square foot house that we talked about in your professional life, in your affiliate life, if you're an affiliate CEO or working in an affiliate today, or a chapter president or working in your chapter. All this is universal, but it starts with you. It's very important that you understand who you are as a brand, what you want your brand to be, and, create excitement, be consistent, and enjoy what you're doing, and people will enjoy, advocate, and want to mentor and help you in your development, and you be a help to someone else as well. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening today. Thank you so much for your engagement. Last call for questions, if there are not any. Thank you for having me. Thank you to the folks that were the slide turners. I appreciate you. And have any questions, comments, concerns, please call us, email us, or whatever you like to do to connect with us. And stay tuned for the next part of our series over the next couple of months. Thank you. Have a great summer.